to the Shippensburg Historical Society Holiday Special. Things are a little different this year and we may not be able to invite you in, but we still wanted to spread a little cheer. Please enjoy while we share a reading of the Twas the Night Before Christmas and discuss the history of Christmas cards. We also talk about various Christmas traditions around the world and look at some historic Beistle decorations. Hopefully you enjoy our presentation. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and a tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of night, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Dr. Clement Moore, who wrote the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," never expected that he would be remembered by it and that we would be reading his work today. Moore enjoyed writing poetry for his children, and one year he wrote "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." He gave this poem to his children as a gift on Christmas Day. The story was published first in 1823.
Hi, Merry Christmas from Shippensburg Historical Society. Christmas is coming, Santa is coming. Everybody knows what we do here for our traditions during Christmas, but I'd like to tell you about some things that other people do around the world, different places. Kids here put out Christmas cookies and milk for Santa, and they leave out carrots for his reindeer. But in some other countries, people do different things. In Australia, at Christmas time, it's hot down there, and they must like beer down there because they leave beer and cookies out for Santa. It's summer. In Argentina, Christmas celebrations go on to the 6th of January, which they call Three Kings Day. They leave out hay for the king's horses, don't seem to leave out anything for the kings, and they leave their shoes outside, and the goodies are to be put into the shoes. In a couple different places that came up. In Denmark and Belgium, they believe that the sleigh is pulled by horses rather than reindeer, and they leave out carrots and hay for the horses, and again, don't seem to leave out anything for Santa. In Iceland, they make some special little leaf-shaped cracker cookies, sort of sweet but not really, that are only made that time of the year, and they leave them out for Santa. In France, they leave out biscuits, which are sort of a cracker, sort of a cookie, not as sweet as something we might call cookie, and they leave out carrots for the reindeer. And they also put their shoes outside, so the presents will appear in their shoes. Some different traditions of the way people celebrate around the world. Some of these are kind of neat. For some reason in Norway, they hide their brooms. They think that witches and evil spirits will come to steal their brooms. Now, as I was reading about this, I couldn't figure out where that came from, why they thought this would happen, but they do. And in Venezuela, also, we don't know why, they leave their cars set and they get up early on Christmas morning and they go to church on roller skates. Everybody in town goes down to the church on roller skates. And then they come back and have a dinner of tamales, because that's part of the culture of what they eat there. In Tunisia, for some reason, they have camel races on Christmas. Camels are part of the culture there in Tunisia, so they go race the camels. And then they come back and have big dinners to celebrate all day long. In Sweden, there's a little town called Gävle, and in the town square, for many, many years now, they have built what they call a Christmas goat. This is a small one my son gave to me one time years ago. But the one that they build in Gävle is 16 feet tall. So if you have a 2-story house, it would be as tall as the top of the 2nd story of your house. Normally they build it, leave it set for a while, and then tear it down. Sometimes in recent years, somebody has set the goat on fire, and that wasn't part of the purpose. So they have to put the fire out, and then the goat stays there until they're done with their celebrations. So there's a couple neat things around the world. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas, whatever holidays you celebrate this time of the year. Be safe, and we hope to see you again next year.
The Bisto Company has been a staple of the Shippensburg community since the early 20th century. Beginning the company in his home in 1900 and selling products from an old wagon in Oakville, Martin Beistle moved the company to Shippensburg in 1908. With the exception of World War II, Beistle has been making paper party supplies non-stop since the early 1900s, making the company one of the oldest running manufacturer of party supplies. The original Beistle catalog began with calendars, wooden toys, and artificial plants. Soon they partnered with a paper novelty company and created the product that made them famous. Martin Beistle got the idea for the product while on a trip to Heidelberg, Germany, where he observed a paper honeycombing technique. When he arrived home, he replicated the design and created the honeycomb tissue paper decorations. These decorations included bells, balls, toys, and Easter bunny nests. Eventually, the catalog was expanded to cover all holidays from Christmas to Thanksgiving. The company's early success is credited with selling inexpensive, pre-made decorations that customers could easily buy from a store. These have remained treasured holiday decorations and continue to be a bestseller for the Beistle Company.
When we think of Christmas, we usually think of Christmas traditions, whether it be going out and getting a Christmas tree or to decorate your house, or maybe putting that list together for the Christmas dinner that you're going to hold. Another part of the Christmas that we usually think about is the tradition of sending Christmas cards. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the story of the Christmas card itself. The story starts really with the first recorded season greetings being sent in 1611 by Michael Mayer to James I of England and to his son Henry Frederick, who was the Prince of Wales. And as you can see, the season greeting for that time period is completely different than what we're used to today. Now, to think of Christmas cards as we see them today, we need to fast forward it to the year 1843 in England, when Sir Henry Cole was responsible for the idea of the creation of the Christmas card. You see, Sir Henry Cole, rather than writing out letters to all of his family members and friends wishing them a happy or a Merry Christmas, decided to go ahead and come up with a much shorter way of doing that by hiring an artist to basically put a piece of artwork on a card, and then from there a simple greeting message. And then all Henry would have to do is just write on the card who it went, and of course the card being from him. And this idea in today's standards, it pretty much went viral. It was very popular. And here's one of the examples of the very first Christmas cards that was designed by Henry Cole himself. Now, these cards, they varied in different shapes, sizes. They were made from different materials. Sometimes they featured lace or other decorations on there to kind of give it a three-dimensional look. The sentiments on the card could be very simple, from a simple season's greeting to Merry Christmas. Some may even have religious text. Others may have even bad jokes on them. The cards were decorated with all kinds of different imageries. Some being of shrubs or flowers, animals, to religious scenes, to images of spring. And of course, the image of spring was really meant to remind the reader that warmer and sunnier days are around the corner, because we know that Christmas is situated in a time period of winter where it's cold and we don't have as much daylight. Now, the Christmas card took off in 1840 in England, and it came to America during the 1850s, and it really began to take off in the 1860s. But the sense of the Christmas card that we think of today, we have to think of German immigrant Louis Prang, who basically had an idea in the 1870s to mass print cards. And this ideal really became popular when he exported this ideal over to England. And of course, the following year, he would go ahead and have enough to open up a small shop. Now, his business or his Christmas cards were about the size of a business card. They were only 2 by 4 inches. And sometimes they featured imagery of flowers or a bouquet of flowers that were applied to a black background. But then in the 1880s, he went ahead and had a competition to where he would have other artists come in and do all kinds of different drawings. And that became a popular idea, especially when the grand prize was $1,000. Because of how elegant these pieces of art were, he managed to go ahead and increase the size of his card from that business card size to 7 to even 8 inches or to 10 inches. And with that, he would have the imagery on the front and on the reverse side, basically a brief bio about that particular artist. Some of the scenes that were on these cards during the Victorian era were very beautifully decorated. They could feature religious scenes, kind of like what you see here with the angels or baby Jesus Christ in the manger. And again, you can see here that springtime imagery with the angel blessing the 2 kids, but you see the greens and of course the wildlife in the background. Other different art that you would see on the front of cards could be of nature. And again, this one here, you can see spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Some of them were beautifully decorated with pieces of art showing children having fun outside on a winter landscape. Santa Claus was also another very popular form of artwork on different kinds of cards. The one that you see here in the center, we actually have this in our collection, and of course it was post-dated sometime around 1904 or 1905. But then you start getting into some of the other imagery. Of course, you have the birds who really don't appreciate the fact that you have the winter weather. But at the bottom, it just basically reads, "With the best of Christmas wishes." Maybe owls that are dancing and having fun and actually enjoying this time of the year. But then you get into some more of the darker side of the artwork that you would see on Christmas cards. Some people may think an imagery of a dead bird would be an insult. But during the Victorian era, if you received a drawing or piece of art of a dead bird, particularly a robin or a wren, that was meant to be a sign of good prosperity or good health or goodwill. Other imageries that you would see, take these birds here drinking from the punch bowl. Two of them are passed out. The other one will be next. And look at the end of the table there. You have a cat. He's just waiting for all three of them. That way he can have his own dinner. So you can kind of see a sense of humor that's right there. Even the frogs that are slipping and sliding on the ice of their pond. But then you have these really weird, kind of like, I don't know, it is a sense of humor, but it is kind of weird. Such as the cat and the mouse, and of course it says Jack the Giant Killer. To the clown eating his pie. To those musicians there that are trying to bring music of joy to the community. And of course you have the two people that really don't appreciate it, or they're playing a practical joke on them by dumping their chamber pot on top of them. But then you have some of these other weird pieces of artwork that went on these Christmas cards, such as a frog dancing with what perhaps looks like a beetle to a grasshopper or a dragonfly, and it just says, "May Christmas be merry." To the turnip man carrying basically a heart-shaped some type of object that says, "A Merry Christmas to you." Then you have creepy Christmas scenes such as this clown, or not clown, but a snowman extending a branch down to the bird, to Krampus who is taking away the children, to a very weird kid knocking on a birdhouse. And I'm not sure what's going on there, but that is kind of creepy. So when you think of Christmas cards, it's kind of come full circle. Each year, about 1.6 billion cards are sent annually around Christmas time. That's around the world. 500 million e-cards are sent annually, and that raises about $2 billion in revenue. Now, digital cards have diminished in number over the last few years because more and more people are going out and buying Christmas cards, or they're actually making their own and sending to their family. So in some ways, the tradition of sending Christmas cards, it's made a full circle and it's making a huge comeback. Well, from here, from the Shippensburg Historical Society, we just want to wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, and a very safe and happy New Year.
Thank you for joining us for our holiday special. We hope you and your family have a wonderful holiday season and a very happy New Year.